Hi, my name is Lews Caro. I'm a PhD student in the Molecular and Cell Biology program at the University of Washington. I'm in my third year, and I'm doing my thesis work in Michael Alien's lab in the Department of Biochemistry. What's my background? So, my parents immigrated from Colombia about 30 years ago, and with them came some aunts and uncles and cousins. And we all grew up in the same house. So it was about 10 of us growing up in the same house in Connecticut. Um, and it was great to have family so close by. Unfortunately, Connecticut became, at least the area we were in, became a little unsafe for us, the children. And so my family and I moved to North Carolina, which is where I spent my middle school and my high school years. Um, I didn't really think I was going to go to college at first. Um, you know, by the time high school was close to its end, I I was not excited by anything academic. Um, but I decided to take one advanced course in biology during my last year of high school. And that's really when I got excited about research. Um, in my opinion, science is often taught, as memorize all these facts in this textbook. I hated that. I found that very boring and my memory was terrible. But this class really talked about the experiments behind what we know from the textbooks. So instead of just telling us what's true, it would give us the evidence and how researchers thought about these questions um, that led to the experiments um, and the evidence to show that these things were in fact true. And so that was very cool to me. And so I did decide to go to college. I somehow made it into the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where I spent my 4 years in undergrad there. I did research in Elizabeth Shank's lab, um, and where I really focused on understanding how bacteria interact with each other and how they coexist in communities. And I loved it. I loved academic research. I had a great time. Um, but I also didn't want to go straight into graduate school without having some experience outside of academic science. I wanted to get a taste of what kind of science was out there. So I did take a summer off of my undergraduate research and I went into industry. I moved to Maryland for a few months and did some industry work. And that was a very formative experience. Overall, I did not enjoy the industry mindset of applied biology, at least in the industry that I was in, was very much focused on, how can we make the biology work for us humans? While I think what excited me more, I realized at that point, was that I really wanted to understand the fundamentals of biology, not get it to work for us. So that's when I decided, maybe graduate school is right for me. And so the end of my call at end of uh, at the end of my last year in college, I applied to many different schools. At first, I was mostly focused on, continuing down the microbiology path that I was in. I just like the simplicity of these organisms that are single celled. Um, but I I somehow ended up really interested in evolution towards the very, very end of college and throughout my interviewing experiences. Um, yeah, so I ended up really focused on wanting to pursue that route of understanding evolution. And so I joined Michael Alien's lab because he was really focused on a question that I was really excited by, which is understanding speciation, which is the process of one species becoming two. And so my current work is really focused on that. I think often in biology, we're taught that the genes that exist in a genome are there because they help the organism in some way. But in some important cases, we have a set of genes called selfish genetic elements that are retained in genomes not because they help the organism survive or reproduce, but simply because the organism and evolution can't get rid of these genes. And so there's very interesting biology there. And I'm focused on the molecular side of these very important genes that might drive the speciation process. What do I like about the UW? I think part of my industry work, um, why that was so formative was it was the first time that I got to work with people who weren't in the same field as me. So in academic science, I think we typically get, you know, constant interaction with our lab members, which studies something similar to what we focus on. But in industry, that was the first time that I got to interact with physicists and chemists and business people all on the same project. And it was amazing to me just how much we could come up with when we put all our brains together, everyone offering their own expertise. And that was very exciting for me. And I found that when I came to interview at UW, one of the most emphasized aspects is how collaborative the university is. So particularly with the MCB program, people can rotate within the university, but also within the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center and Benaroya and the Pacific Northwest Research Institute. So already you can see how graduate students are distributed not only within the university, but within collaborating industries, not industries, but institutes. So that was very exciting to me. Also, the UW just had a great emphasis on work-life balance. When I talked to the students here, they were very happy just with where they were, both of location, because Seattle is a very liberal city, as most cities are. And what do I like about Seattle? I love that nature is so close by. So in North Carolina, we did have a lot of nature, but there were mostly farms and flat land. But in Seattle, you drive 30 minutes and you're at a mountain and you're at a great hike. So often my friends and I will take a few hours on the weekend and go hiking, and it's a lot of fun and much different than what I had experienced in North Carolina. How have I made connections to others since I came here? I think the first one that comes to mind is that MCB started a volleyball team. And so we had about 20 people. And we would meet up every weekend, practice some volleyball, and then we would also compete in the university's intramural competitions or tournaments. So I think that was a great way to get to know my peers, and also a fun way to get some exercise. What do I miss? I think most people's answers will be the same. I do miss my family. My family is still all in North Carolina. So I miss them, and it is a 6-hour plane ride and a fairly expensive ticket. But, I feel like the sacrifice is very much worth it because I do feel like I'm doing the research that I'm most excited about here. And I have great friends and great connections here. And I can always, give my family a call and we can catch up. What's a memorable moment I will take with me after I graduate? I don't think I have a specific moment, but I think what I'll take with me as what I enjoyed the most during my PhD is talking to people about science and why they're interested in the work that they are. Because when I go to a talk, my favorite part is the background. I usually forget all the details of the research as soon as I leave, but every time I go to a talk, and I get a really nice background on why someone is excited about their research, I just get excited too. And that was really nice to see, especially from my fellow first years when I was back in first year and we had our quarterly rotation talks. I could just see why people were excited about the research that they were excited about. And that was very fun for me. And I think that's it. Thank you.